Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Jarret. Getting ready to go on vacation up in the mountains.
Oh, nice. One quick vacation before the season kicks off, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually back from Dallas from Big 12 Media Days, and part of the whole gearing up towards fall camp, which opens August 2nd for the Red Raiders, is releasing a new roster. And there are some really interesting notes, I think, from this new roster. I think most especially the weight gains. I think some of the and losses. One of the stories I wrote about was the new strength coach, Dave Schulz, and what he's done for the program so far in such a short time. Really, that story just kind of came to me. One of the subscribers asked me to kind of ask about it, and I asked one guy. Next thing you know, it's all the players want to talk about is how much they like Schulz, and they weren't talking smack about the previous staff. I think Rusty Witt and the discipline he tried to instill, I think that was necessary. I think this is just a different ball game here. I think Dave Schulz is an elite strength coach along the lines of John Riley, and I think some of these weight gains and losses I think will show you that. Eric Ezukama, former four-star guy, I had to triple check on this, but from the spring roster to the roster here before fall camp, gained 25 pounds from 180 to 205, and from everybody I've talked to, it's not like he's losing a lot of speed or anything like that. Like, he's just as fast, and he looked great in the spring. He's one of the guys who really stood out at the spring game with some just magnificent catches. So let's see what Easy E does this year. Noah Jones is a guy who's kind of been forgotten. He's had several injuries, some pretty tough ones, but he's back, and he put on 20 pounds since Dave Schulz has been here. That's just a huge gain. Douglas Coleman, I talked to him at Big 12 Media Day. He's put on 15 pounds. He's playing exclusively as safety now. He looks like a safety. I think he could have a really good senior season. He's one of those guys who has the ability, who I think you've mentioned before, Joe, has been kind of, sometimes he looks like one of the best players in the Big 12, and sometimes he just disappears for stretches. So I think being hungry and being in shape, and I think probably being at the right position there at safety, I think he's a classic candidate for somebody to have a breakout season, all right, a couple other guys I want to mention. McLean Mannix, the guy from Nevada, the transfer who transferred in. He was here for spring ball. He got a exemption an exemption making him immediately eligible, a waiver from the NCAA, so he doesn't have to sit out for a year. Man, he's 15 pounds from 180 to 195. So look for big things from him out of the slot. I mean, that guy's already been really productive. He was a freshman All-American in Nevada. So I think he's going to be a really big part of your team. Adam Beck is a guy who transferred 2 years ago. He sat out last year. He was running with the ones in the times that I saw a lot on defense. So him and Douglas Coleman might be your safeties there. I think Adrian Fry might play safety if he doesn't play. Adrian Fry's a guy like wherever they need him, I think they'll play. And speaking of him, he's changed to number 7. He's 6 foot, 6'1", 190, but he went from number 20 to number 7, which was Jay Sean's number. Right. So I think that was his number in high school, I believe. So that's interesting to see. Just note that. Tayson Henry plus 10 pounds, which is a lot when you consider his size. He went from 170 to 180. That's good to see. Xavier Benson, outside linebacker, defensive end type. He's plus 10 pounds. Keyshawn Carter, speedster. I think he's going to play some outside actually this fall. He's put on 10 pounds. And then I want to mention some guys who've lost weight, honestly they need to lose weight. They were overweight. Lonzel Gilmore, most notably, lost 20 pounds. And he was really light in the spring. So this is really more from just last year to now, and him getting healthy and playing at a healthier weight for him. Rico Jeffers lost 5 pounds, which is good to see. 240, I think that's big enough. Yeah. He was 245. He's a guy who he definitely doesn't struggle to put on weight. He's just a monster there. He's going to have a great season. Madison Akamnanu lost 10 pounds, so he's down to 310. I think that's good for him, especially with the high tempo Tech plans on playing. Jack Anderson's down 5 pounds. That's good too. Terrence Steele's down 10 pounds. Nelson Mbanasor down 10 pounds. I like that at defensive end. So, and then DeMarcus Marshall, who, by the way, broke his hand. He posted that on Instagram. He broke his hand. I think he's still going to play, but he's in a cast. He's down 15 pounds. So he's lost, he's lost like a whole person since he's gotten on campus, which is good. He needed to. So, I'd like to see where Marshall is on the offensive line this fall camp. after redshirting last year as a freshman. Now, there's some notable guys who are gone, Joe. Mark Brown, Octavius Morgan, Jalen Lane, and Justice Parker. I think we knew about the 3 DBs. Mark Brown being gone, I had to double check on that. But yeah, he was a transfer from San Diego State, linebacker, outside linebacker type. He looked pretty good in the spring, so I was disappointed to see he was no longer on the team. But, I mean, it's not devastating.
No.
So before we go to some new faces, what do you think about the weight gains and some of the guys lost, and just honestly, I think just keeping the team together, really the roster intact? I expect them to lose more in the spring.
Sure. Yeah. So far, so good in that area. I just had some kind of general observations about like the receiving corps. One thing about those guys is you can almost feel the basketball team with those guys. I mean, you got Vasher at 6'6", 200. Milo Royals, 6'5", 185. Trey Cleveland at 6'4", 180.
Yes.
Seth Collins, 6'3", 200. You got a bunch of long, lean guys there in the receiving corps, so that's interesting. The offensive line is kind of interesting to me because you've got a bunch of body types there that are tackle body types.
Yeah.
There are a ton of guys on there that are like 6'5", 6'6", in the 300 to 310 range.
Right.
You know, you don't see a lot of those thick, shorter road grader types. So you've got the kind of you're going to string a bunch of tackles up there more or less, and so that's it's probably good in pass protection and everything. We'll see how that works out as they're trying to establish the run game that Coach Wells is talking about so much. On the defensive line, I noticed that you're kind of small up there. You got 2 300-pounders in McCann and Washington, and then you got a bunch of guys that are in this 260 to 275 range. Is that going to be an issue, particularly as you're trying to rotate some guys? McCann and Washington can't go all those snaps. You got to have somebody in there. So I think Hutchins is a guy who's about 290, 295, so maybe there's a little bit of size there, but it is kind of a light defensive line as it stands right now. And then one other thing I noticed, Alante Brown, they do have him listed as a running back, not as an athlete or a receiver or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if they really do dedicate him to that running back position. I believe he's at 5'10", 185 or something like that right now. So that's respectable size right there. But it'll be interesting to see how they used him and if he's going to be focusing more at running back than any of these other positions.
That's a great segue, Joe, and that was my next thing I wanted to point out with some of the new faces. And I'm going to have a story really going into greater detail about the whole roster, including the new faces. But here are some guys I think you might be interested in hearing about. You mentioned Alante Brown. He was the highest rated guy that Tech signed last signing class, the 2019 class. And he told me several times that, he's going to play running back. Now, they're going to line him up in the slot some. He's going to be all-purpose back, but he's going to play mostly at running back. So, and he was a hell of a quarterback coming out of Chicago, Simeon High School, which is really a famous basketball school. But no, I mean, they produced a lot of talent, and he was like an all-state quarterback, 3-year starter, won a lot of football games there. But he's great in the open field. It'll be interesting to see how he adjusts as a running back. But they're starting to stack some really good all-purpose backs I've talked about before. And, Tazon, mentioned earlier in this video, some other guys, Quinn Bright in the 2020 class. So I'm really enjoying seeing how they're recruiting that. DeAndre Smith was huge to going in there, Texas Tech's running back coach, going in there and getting prying Alante Brown out of there. He had offers for Florida State, Michigan State, Iowa State, and Tech won a huge battle there. So he's going to start off at number 14, which is interesting. I like that number. All right, a couple other new faces. Armand Shine is listed at 210 pounds. We had him at 205 before. He's in number 5. Freshman quarterback Maverick McIver, West Texas kid, is listed at 6'3", 195. He's going to be wearing number 8. Zach McPherson, a grad transfer who has 2 years of eligibility remaining, listed at 5'11", 190. He's going to be wearing number 8. Travis Kuntz, which you just wrote about in your Critical 20 series, Joe. 6'5", 260, and he's a monster too. He's got some athleticism to him, so that's huge for talked about wanting to run the football and everything. Utilizing the tight end, that's huge. And Kuntz is going to wear number 15. All right, Cameron Cantrell, obviously the younger brother of Dylan Cantrell, freshman, 6'1", 180. He's going to wear number 18. Daquan Watts, 6'2", 175. Highly recruited guy, Tech guy. He just kind of fell in their laps, but Tech did a good job of closing him. I think he may have to play They lost a lot of defensive backs. Daquan may have to play. I think he can. He played at a high level in Atlanta. He's the kind of, he had 6 interceptions and didn't allow a touchdown last year, which is the kind of dominance you want to see if you're expecting the guy to maybe come in and play at Power 5 football as a true freshman. He's going to be number 19, Evan Rambo, 6'4", 210, which sounds pretty good to me. Number 21, Alex Hogan, another freshman cornerback coming in from the 2019 class, 5'11", 170. He needs to get in the weight room a little bit, eat some. He's number 27. Xavier White, a walk-on receiver. He's actually from Dodge City, JC. He is from Monterey High School. He was a local standout, so be interesting to see if he can contribute on special teams and start and kind of get in the mix. It's hard to get on the field right now, even in the transition period at receiver at Texas Tech, but it'll be interesting to track his career. Quentin Williams was a late addition, 6'5", 230, defensive end. Man, I expect him to put 10, 15 pounds on pretty quick, to be honest. He's going to be number 45. 2 guys that when I was at Big 12 Media Day, I spoke with Broderick. I said, he actually brought up these 2 guys without me asking him, but hey, young standouts. Just the 2 guys that he thinks can have good heads on their shoulders. They came in, their body ready, and he thinks they can contribute early. He actually said he told Nelson McBanister, watch out, he's going to lose a spot to one of these guys. But Tony Bradford won a state championship at Galena Park North Shore. I mean, he came in as solid, 6'1", 245, number 97. And then Gilbert Abenami, 6'3", 255. He's going to be number 99. And then rounding things out, you already mentioned Trey Cleveland, 6'4", 180. He's going to be number 85. So Trey's a guy who maybe he put on 5, 10 pounds, but he looks physical already. I know he played in a great district there in Arlington High, so I know he had good competition. 6'4", dude could run like the wind. So I'm excited to see all these guys in fall camp. We're going to have Double T Farmer out there shooting picks, snapping picks the first day of all the newcomers and everything. And look for that story on the whole roster breakdown in greater detail coming to you very soon. But Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.